Hello students, let's answer the 14-marker O-Levels Pakistan Studies History question. Was the refugee issue the most important problem facing the newly formed government of Pakistan in 1947? Give reasons for your answer. 14-marker question will always have more than one viewpoints. For example, it can be a statement. Bengal was partitioned in 1905 because of geographical factors. Do you agree? Explain your answer. Or it can be timeline-based question, for example, the reasons for partitioning Bengal in 1905 were more important than those that caused its reversal in 1911. Do you agree? Explain your answer. Or it may start with the phrases, how successful were, or to what extent what is required by the examiner to achieve highest level. Understanding and analysis of a question. Introduction, evaluation of more factors/issues/reasons, and a good conclusion or point with which you agree. For example, the question is, was the refugee issue the most important problem facing the newly formed government of Pakistan in 1947? Give reasons for your answer. Start with introduction first point, which is given in the question, develop it and end with impact. Second point, other, then that, develop it and end with impact. Third point, develop it and end with impact. Fourth and fifth point, it can be a linking point or a separate point. Conclude it with your own opinion based on the points you have mentioned. Now let's write an answer with me. We will start with introduction. Pakistan was created out of an urgent and desperate need. Its birth was accompanied by terrible loss of life and property, along with the migration of millions of confused and homeless men, women, and children. It had been agreed between Jinnah and Nehru that a boundary commission should be set up to define the borders between India and Pakistan. The British government immediately appointed a boundary commission under Sir Cyril Radcliffe to demarcate permanent borders. The boundaries had to be defined as such that provinces, districts, and villages that were predominantly Muslim went to Pakistan, while Hindu-majority areas went to India. Provinces like Baluchistan, Sindh, NWFP, and East Bengal provided little difficulty. But deep problems arose when boundaries in Punjab had to be fixed. There were also a substantial number of Hindus and Sikhs residing in this region, other than the Muslims. However, the province was partitioned. When the boundaries were drawn between India and Pakistan, it resulted in many tragic events. In an almost frantic, cruel rush, the commission divided districts, villages, farmlands, water, and property. Let's discuss the crisis separately, starting with the crisis mentioned in the question. Refugee crisis. The human cost was immense during this time. Thousands of innocent men, women, and children were slaughtered, caught unaware. The result was that many hastened across the border, leaving their homes, land, and personal property to seek refuge. Panic, fear, revenge, and reprisals followed. Both India and Pakistan were soaked in blood. Some Muslims in India had been submitted to terrible atrocities, and so thousands fled to Pakistan. Trains arrived in Pakistan filled with blood and bodies. Even caravans had suffered from attacks. 20 million were made homeless, and 1 million men, women, and children died from both sides. It left on Pakistan's doorstep 7 million refugees who had to be rehabilitated, clothed, fed, and sheltered. It placed great strain on the new government. While newly born Pakistan struggled with finances, security, these refugees, a big human resource which Pakistan needed at that crucial time, could not be used to build Pakistan. Geographical problems. The basic problem was that Pakistan was split in two separate parts, East and West Pakistan, which were thousands of miles apart and separated by hostile territory. 1. There was no land route between the two units, hence it was becoming difficult to administer these two separate units. 2. The geographical distance also created logistical problems between East and West Pakistan. 3. The huge distance also led to differences as both units had different culture, language, and outlook, and there was nothing in common except for Islam. Political problems or problems in forming the government. Pakistan lacked experienced and skilled officials to run the government, as Muslim League had no prior experience of being part of any government before partition. The Muslims were always sidelined in British government, and only the Hindus were given chances. As a result, majority of the Hindus had experience of running government offices. 1. There were no administrative machinery or govt offices. Pakistan also had no government buildings to establish government offices, and even lacked office stationery and furnishings. Another major problem that Pakistan had to face was to choose a capital to form a government and to establish a secretariat, the building where all government offices are located. 1. The problem further worsened with death of Quaid-e-Azam in 1948, as it led to a lack of leadership. In short, there was a shortage of properly qualified and experienced personnel, which made the task of running government departments extremely difficult. 2. The leadership crises were not fulfilled, and that is why Pakistan faced frequent change of governments in the following years. Canal water dispute. The canal water dispute was one of the most serious problems since India now controlled the water supply to Pakistan. As per the Radcliffe Award, Firozpur district was given to India as even though it had a Muslim majority. The headwork of Bari Doab Canal, which controlled the rivers which were flowing from East Punjab to West Punjab, was in Firozpur. In April 1948, the Indians stopped the water coming into Pakistan, demanding them to pay for it. The water supply for Lahore was stopped, and more than 1.65 million acres of agricultural land was threatened, and Pakistan's economy was also threatened as it was an agro-based economy. This brought tensions to a head between the two countries as Pakistan had to depend on India for its water supply. A temporary agreement was reached. In 1952, the president of World Bank, Eugene Black, offered to provide financial and technical assistance to resolve the dispute. Indus Water Treaty was signed. The negotiations of the temporary agreement dragged until 1952. In 1953, the Government of Pak alleged that India is cutting back on the flow of water. The problem dragged on until 1960, when the Indus Water Treaty was signed. Indus Water Treaty allowed for a transitional period of 10 to 13 years, after which the three eastern rivers, Ravi, Sutlej, Beas, would fall exclusively to India's share, and the three western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, to Pakistan. During the transitional period, Pakistan would construct a system of replacement works consisting of 2 dams, 5 barrages, and 7 link canals, financed by the Indus Development Fund. Economic problems. Equally disastrous was the economic situation. There were not sufficient skilled personnel to run the railways, hospitals, and offices. There weren't enough chairs, tables, or even stationery and paper pins for administrative purposes. Food was scarce, and Pakistan had limited cash to buy food. Pakistan had no industry. Pakistan did not have a single jute mill to cater its only major export. Pakistan only got 14 out of 390 Indian cotton mills. Pakistan had no steelworks, and production of electricity was a long-running problem. There were only 8 major towns, and Pakistan mainly consisted of underdeveloped rural areas with little or no economic activity. The government of Pakistan also faced shortage of cash, and hence could not speed up the industrialization process or inject capital in the economy. Division of financial assets. At the time of partition, the cash balances of undivided India stood at about rupees 4,000 million. The ratio of division was 17:5. At the beginning of December 1947, India and Pakistan mutually came to an agreement that Pakistan would get rupees 750 million as her share. Rupees 200 million had been already paid to Pakistan, while rupees 550 million were to be paid immediately. But this amount was withheld on the plea that Pakistan would use it in the war going on in Kashmir. However, as this stand was morally invalid. They were about to face a major cash crisis as they only enough cash to pay 1 month's salary to their employees. India wanted Pakistan to go bankrupt. The remaining amount was later on released after Gandhi's fast and underworld pressure on January 15, 1948.2. But it was upon Gandhi's request that the Reserve Bank of India paid Pakistan rupees 500 million. A balance of rupees 50 million is still disputed to this date. The agreed division of the military assets between India and Pakistan was in the ratio 65-35. Many of the military assets such as tanks and military vehicles awarded were obsolete, damaged, or out of order. The deliveries of the assets were made late on purpose. Pakistan even did not have a single ordnance factory. Pakistan required at least 4,000 officers to command its army of 150,000 men. But there were only 2,500 Muslim officers available out, which only 1 was Muslim general and only 2 were brigadiers. 500 British officers were hired on temporary bases to lead and train Pakistan Army. 2. An ordnance factory was set up at Wakan Taxila near Rawalpindi. 1. Pakistan's weapons remained outdated until late 1950s. Pakistan consisted of 5 different regions. These regions had different cultures, traditions, vows, lifestyle, and language. There was no uniting factor amongst these regions due to such diversity. 1. Quaid-e-Azam declared Urdu as the official language to unite the people. He laid emphasis to end provincialism and racism. 3. He explained to the people that they should think of themselves as Pakistanis and not as individual race 1. The cultural differences were too great to be bridged, which is why East Pakistan later on got separated. A number of princely states had to decide whether to join Pakistan or India. There were problems in some states including Junagadh, Hyderabad and Kashmir. In Junagadh, the Muslim ruler wanted to join Pakistan, to which India objected. Pakistan called for a referendum, but India refused and invaded Junagadh. Hyderabad, the biggest princely state, wanted independence or otherwise join Pakistan, but the majority population was Hindus, and India protested. Again, referendum was proposed. After Quaid's death, India invaded Hyderabad. Kashmir consisted of a Muslim majority, but a Hindu ruler. To put down a local rebellion of Muslims who wished to join Pakistan, Hari Singh asked for military help from India. Pakistan also sent its army to help Kashmiri Muslims. Both armies came face to face, and a ceasefire was arranged by the UN. It was decided that a plebiscite would be held to decide the fate of Kashmir, but India never allowed that. Ever since, Kashmir has been a disputed territory between these two nations. Although all the challenges mentioned had a significant impact on the newly established government, I firmly believe that the refugee crisis stood out as the most critical. Why? This was because Pakistan was unable to fully utilize its most valuable asset, human resource, in its formative years. Among the refugees were brilliant minds, skilled professionals, and promising young leaders, all of whom were grappling with immense trauma and instability. Their potential contributions to nation building were deeply affected during this crucial period.